Ladies and gentlemen, this new car meta in Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 3 is unlike anything we have ever seen in this game. Even with yesterday's slight nerf to the cars, they are still far and away the focal point of this season. And be prepared for it to stay that way, because as somebody who predicted this nerf in our last upload, can't see them nerfing the cars much, if any more than they just did. With this new unorthodox style of play coming to the game, there comes a lot of people that love it, a lot of people that hate it. Regardless of where you fall into that, you might be looking for some tips on how to perform better in this new meta, how to win more games with cars dominating. Maybe you're already finding success and you just want to up your game a little bit more, especially after yesterday's update. Either way, you've come to the right place. I have a gameplay from right after yesterday's update that I'm going to use to break down for you guys everything you need to know to find success and win more games in this new car-driven meta. So we're going to get straight into it just really quick. Help a fellow bro out. Drop a like on the video. Sub to the channel if you're new. We're on that road to 10K. And with that being said, let's dive right in. Alright y'all, so in this gameplay, I'm also going to be showing you naturally my drop spot and my rotation path. And of course, you can copy it and implement it into your own games, but you definitely do not have to find success. One thing you do need to keep in mind is that your go-to drop spot, regardless of the meta, should be chosen intentionally with the intention of giving you a leg up on the rest of the lobby. This season, I personally always like to land at this little airport at the bottom left corner of the map, and you guys will see why here shortly. Now, we landed here alone, but obviously priority number one, regardless of where you land, is going to be to take out any contesters. Number two, however, is going to be to get your loadout right. After yesterday's update, there are three, in my opinion, absolute must-haves in your inventory if you really want to dominate this car-driven meta. A good combat shotgun, the nitro fists, and boogie bombs. Yes, boogie bombs. You can't guess why. The reason we're taking boogie bombs, which just got unvaulted in yesterday's update, is that we're going to use them to take people out of their cars. The remaining two slots in your inventory are completely up to you. I prefer to have a med and a burst SMG. Now, the reason for carrying a med is obvious. I prefer to have 3 big pots or a flowberry fizz. But the reason I like the burst SMG, especially this season, is because it is by far the most efficient weapon for when somebody jumps in your passenger seat. You want to jump out and delete them through the window. This season, it's important to have the most efficient weapon possible for this because, as you can see, they're going to be ready to be firing back with the mounted turret. But as you can see, as long as you can aim and you're not running low on health or shield, the mounted turret really stands no chance against the burst. Going back to our gameplay, as y'all can see here, I'm going to get a legendary combat shotgun. Regardless of the rarity, the combat shotgun is easily the best shotgun option this season. Between its long range, fast fire rate, consistent damage, and 8-round mag that you can passively reload is why I really like this drop spot, because even though I don't need to this game, you can always buy a purple combat shotgun from the NPC here. Now, our loadout is almost complete. All we need now are some nitro fists, but if you can't get your hands on some nitro fists early on, make sure you carry some shockwaves until you can. Shockwaves are good, but with nitro fists being rechargeable as well as also being able to be used as a weapon, they're the obvious choice between the two. So with our drop spot being cleared out, we're going to get out of here, obviously in a car, which this place always spawns 2 of. Now, even though they have less health, make sure this season, whenever you're choosing a vehicle, you opt for the sports car instead of the G-Wagon, because the ability to switch quickly between the driver's seat and the mounted turret is more valuable than anything the G-Wagon has to offer. As I'm getting out of here, sometimes I'll stop by this house on the hill if I don't have everything in my inventory that I'm looking for. Regardless, I'm going to make my way to the 2 gas stations that are just to the north of here. If you land there, you'll see them on your map. I'm going to try to get all the right mods on my car. The optimal car mods are going to be a machine gun turret, bulletproof tires, and a spiked bumper. The spiked bumper being the least important of the 3, so if you can't get your hands on one, don't worry about it. But what you guys will notice here at this first gas station is I'm intentionally not taking the off-road tires. Reason for that is because they don't actually help with off-roading all that much, and by equipping them, all I'm doing is making my tires a bigger target, then in turn making them easier to pop. Up here, we're going to have a quick bot kill. I believe it's our only one of the game, and I feel like now is a good time to tell you guys, as somebody who really likes to chase high kill games myself, this season it's best to let that come a little bit more naturally. Obviously, we're still going to be pursuing eliminations, but with cars being everywhere, fights can sometimes be super drawn out, so just make sure you're not relentlessly chasing a kill to the point where you're putting yourself in a bad situation. Now, as you can see here, we finally got some nitro gloves, and we also threw a grenade launcher turret on our car. Even though we're still going to be looking for a machine gun turret to replace it, it's important to have at least some sort of turret on the top of your car. That way other players can't just jump in your vehicle and do the pickaxe trick on you, where they're essentially just pickaxing you while they're in the car with you. Also notice we just took a quick second to drive through the dash water to get ourselves 3 dashes, because regardless of the game mode, regardless of the meta, the more mobility you have, the better. And while we're here, just taking 5 quick seconds to get some dashes could at some point be the difference between life or death. Now, as you can see here, we're rolling up on our first real fight. Kind of a third party, so I'm going to see if I can just land some shots before I really get involved. We were able to land some grenade damage, so now I'm going to push in, and this is where the boogie bombs come into play. Now, what you're going to see here is even if I had a mounted turret, what I'm not going to do is engage in a 50-50 fight with this guy just using the weapons on our vehicles. Knowing we have the boogie bombs, we're going to try to get in range here while also keeping in mind they're could be a potential third party, so we're ready to dip at all times. Once he's parked to use that mounted turret, I'm going to make sure I'm not directly in his crosshairs. I'm going to jump out and boogie bomb his car. And just like that, he's out of his car and unable to defend himself, so we just have to take our time, land our shots, and it's an easy kill. Obviously, there was also another player in his vehicle, so what you'll see here is immediately, instead of loot shopping, I nitro fist into the air, and I only turn back to go loot once I recognize that the other guy has cleared the area. Main thing to take away from that fight is that the machine gun and grenade turrets are useful. We don't want to just use them in close range 50-50 fights where a lot of times it just comes down to whose machine gun has less bloom. The next lesson here is to make sure you're always taking care of your vehicle. You don't ever want to be in a position where if you get rolled up on your vehicle is just a few machine gun bullets away from imploding on you. Anytime you're not at 100 or your vehicle is not at full HP, look to hit one of those shield cactuses. As I'm sure you all know by now, they do also heal your vehicle. Also make sure you're keeping a mental note of where these repair boxes are around the map. Always regenerate and spawn in the exact same place. They fully regenerate and refuel your vehicle, which is huge because one of the best ways to give yourself an advantage this season is to make sure you have a good vehicle for as long as possible. Now, as you guys can see, I accidentally equipped some off-road tires when I went through the gas station, so don't make the same mistake that I did, but I'm rotating back here because I know that there's always a potential machine gun turret spawn back here and I still needed one on my car. Obviously, another player drives by here while I'm doing this, but notice how I'm using my machine gun to soften up his vehicle while he's still on the move and not actively shooting at me. Unless their vehicle is already super weak and ours isn't, we never want to be in a fight with another player where we're just shooting our turrets at each other. Instead, I'm going to chase this guy until he stops driving to use his turret. And then, while I'm making sure I protect myself from his turret, regardless of whether it's a machine gun or a grenade launcher, in this situation, I'm using this rock. I'm going to get out of my vehicle, boogie bomb his car while trying to take as little damage as possible. Right here, I am going to be able to land a couple shots. The first one, of course, undoes his boogie bomb effect. So we get him pretty weak, but he does manage to get back in his car. So I try to boogie bomb again, but this time I get us both. So he's going to end up getting in his car and getting on the run again. But we do have the health advantage, so we're going to pursue him and make sure he doesn't get the chance to heal up. This is where using our machine gun turret in our initial encounter really pays off, because as you guys saw there, we were able to make his vehicle really weak without taking any damage ourselves. So when we do finally track him down, he's really weak. We don't have to land that many shots. He can try to get away in his car, but at this point, we've pretty much made that a death sentence, and it's another free, easy kill where the entire time we made sure we played with the advantage. But immediately after securing that kill, we are going to use our mobility to make our way back to our car. Like I told you guys earlier, even though our car isn't perfect yet, we still need some bulletproof tires. Having a good car for as long as possible is one of the biggest advantages you obviously can give yourself in this season. But while we're not going to make finding bulletproof tires our only focus, we are going to keep our eyes open for a set while we try to take out a little bit more of the lobby. Now, once again, here we're going to be third-partying another fight. And you'll notice that once again, I'm only using my mounted turret to shoot at somebody who's driving away, not shooting their turret back at me. I'm trying to soften up their car, which we do end up actually destroying. Now, while we try to track down this runaway, the other guy is going to remind us why we don't opt for off-road tires. He ends up blowing ours out, so we're going to have to ditch our vehicle to chase this guy up the mountain, who does end up boogie bombing himself, I'm guessing, while he tried to throw one down at us. So it's going to end up being another easy kill as long as we can land our shots. And once again, like earlier, I'm getting straight out of there. I'm not loot shopping. I did take a little bit more damage than I would like to because I messed up my nitro fist. But one thing that gets a lot of people sent back to the lobby is prioritizing getting the loot from their kill over staying alive. It's been super easy right there for me to put my head down and try to get everything I wanted from that guy. Instead, I prioritize staying alive, so I get away and I'm able to find the loot I'm looking for elsewhere. Now that I'm out of a vehicle, objective number 1 is finding a new one. While we're in search of one, I want to remind you guys that as we've seen, obviously vehicles are counterable, especially with boogie bombs, which are probably going to be replaced by EMPs in the near future. You still want to be driving a good vehicle as deep into the end game as possible. To make sure we're not on the wrong end of a boogie bomb, you do want to make sure you're not driving too close to someone that's out of a car, or specifically stay out of accurate boogie bomb range to people that aren't in cars. Once again, I'd like to reiterate, know where your car mod and repair boxes are. The reason I stayed on this road as opposed to off-roading is because I knew that there was a tire mod there. Thankfully, it was a bulletproof tire one. Just little things like that, especially in this season, really add up and help you to build an advantage. Right here, we're going to engage in another fight. This guy has a machine gun, we don't, but regardless, we're going to pull up the passenger side facing his car. That way, when we get out, we're protecting ourselves from his turret. We're going to boogie bomb his car, and just like usual, time to line up our shots. And we do get this guy super weak, but he is able to get back in his car and get away. Takeaways from this encounter are: 1, we pulled up passenger side facing him. That way when we jump out of our car, we're not jumping out right into his crosshairs. Number 2, I'd be the first person to tell you usually never want to aim down sights with your shotgun. When you're using the combat shotgun at a distance like that, then it's not a bad idea to zoom in. Now, while we have another run in here, I want to touch on the nitro fists. We've used them as a little bit of mobility so far, but at the end of this game, they're going to be super crucial. Any halfway decent player this season will use their nitro fist to go up, not out. That's because when you need to move, the hardest place for somebody to shoot at you from is the low ground. Not only when you go up are you making it harder for somebody to hit you, but you're also giving yourself a bird's eye view of them, then also potentially putting yourself in position to use the punch down mechanic, which does 70 damage. This will all be very important later in the game, so just keep that in mind. Right here, we're gonna get rolled up on again. This time we don't have a vehicle, but just like clockwork, you guys know the play. You boogie bomb him out of his car, and just like that, he's exposed with no cover. As always, we get that free first shot because he was stuck dancing, which if you look at our health was probably the deciding factor in that fight. Because we're super weak, as soon as we wrap up this fight, we instantly start healing, moving around, making sure we're ready to use one of our dashes or the fists at a moment's notice. Without a second thought, we prioritize our life and reposition instead of trying to hurry up and pick through the loot that we were walking through. And then as this guy's leaving, we're able to circle back through, get a little bit more shield, get a fresh flowberry fizz. And then I'm not going to worry about my white health too much. I'm just going to hurry up and get back in the protection of a car because I know that we can use the shield cactuses that are all around the desert biome. Now, as you guys can see, my car is actually glitched. We do have all 4 tires, but my car is driving like the rear right tire is actually popped. So I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to try to hit as many shield cactuses as possible to see if regenning my car helps. Spoiler alert though, I hit a few cactuses and it didn't end up helping at all. So we're going to have to end up swapping this out for a new unmodded car, which puts us at a huge disadvantage. But where there's a will, there's a way. We have our boogie bombs, we have our nitro fist, we have a good combat. So as long as we play this game correctly, we should be all right. Being that we're in a brand new car, we're just going to try to slide down to the gas station underneath the bridge to see if we can get some bulletproof tires to at least preserve our mobility a little bit. Thankfully down here there were some bulletproof tires as well as a cow catcher. Now when we end up getting back up on the mountain, we kind of get caught in the middle of a little bit of a demolition derby action. Situations like these are where it's really important to protect your car. Right here, the last thing you want is for your car to blow up, knock off 75 of your health, and then leave you exposed in the middle of 2 or 3 machine gun turrets. I'm just using this little ledge to try to protect my car and maybe wait for any boogie bomb opportunities to pop up. Now one does finally pop up when this guy parks to use his mounted turret, but things don't go as smoothly because I do end up missing the first boogie bomb. Because of that, we lose all of our shield. We're only able to land 1 shotgun shot before he gets back in his car. I know at least one other player is close by too, so I'm going to make the common sense decision to get in my car and get out. Now as we're driving off this cliff, my car is about to explode, so we do have to jump out and take a little bit of fall damage, but it does beat the 75 health we would have lost had we stayed in. We're just going to use our nitro fist to get into a good hiding spot and med up a little bit. We do end up getting followed down here by the guy we were fighting, but he clearly doesn't want to get out of his car, so we do have a little bit of time to finish our flowberry fizz while we're under this dock. But we have zone in about 20 seconds. This guy's still down here with his car and his turret, and this is where the next lesson comes in. When in doubt, just get on the move. I'm going to get over to this launch pad and hit it with my flowberry effect, not only to just get out of the low ground, but kind of to just make sure I'm not a sitting duck. And when I land over here at this vehicle mod station, it's important to remember one thing. Not every time you shoot has to end up in a kill. See this guy driving by, I know I'm probably not going to kill him, but I'm just going to take some shots at his vehicle. And as soon as I see him switch over to that mounted turret, I'm immediately getting out of his crosshairs. I'm not going to get a kill or anything here, but knocking 300 HP off that guy's vehicle may or may not end up helping me later in the game. If it does, perfect. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. Now with zone coming in, I do need to get back on the high ground, so I'm just going to try to keep moving around, try to find some cover, maybe take some more pop shots at people's vehicles. Just landing a few shots on somebody's whip could be the difference between them having or not having a vehicle deeper into the game. Now the storm is still closing in, so we're going to do one of the best things you can do in literally any endgame, which is hug the wall of zone. Going and getting right up against the zone wall is going to make sure that we keep everything in front of us. That way we're not getting sandwiched or blindsided by anything. And even if we have to end up moving like we do here because a car is rolling up over the hill, it's totally fine because it just bought us a few more seconds of survival time. Now the sucky part here is that with 3 people left, we are on the low ground and we're the only ones without a car. So it's super important that we stay moving and use whatever cover that we can. The guy that just drove down here is going to end up driving himself into storm and making it a 1v1. So instead of letting the dude on height get the freest win of his life, we're able to stay alive long enough by moving and taking cover that the zone is actually going to force the last guy down onto the low ground with us. So now that we're both on the low ground, neither of us have our cars, it's time to be a playmaker. Remember what I said earlier about the fist. As soon as he slides down here, I'm going to nitro fist up. I don't see him, so I'm going to nitro fist up one more time, and then I'm going to try to do the attack punch on the way down. He ends up dodging it. Now I only have 1 charge left, so I'm going to go back up, switch to my boogie bombs, hit him with it on the way down, and now we have a free shot. So we just take our time here. We'd like to get a little bit more damage on this free shot, but we've pretty much cracked all of his overshield, and now he's out of dashes. We're going to try to make the nitro fist into boogie bomb play again, and it doesn't go as planned, but it at least gets him on the run, and anytime your opponent turns his back to you, you get free uncontested shots. At this point, we've taken off enough of his shield that we've created a pretty good health advantage for ourselves. That at this point, all it really comes down to is making sure that we keep that health advantage, continue to apply pressure so that he can't med up, and then land some shots. And just like that, we've secured ourselves a dub in this new crazy car meta that Fortnite has brought about. Obviously, you can go for higher kill counts. I've almost gotten 20 a couple times this season. In this one, we did only get 6, but the reason I wanted to break this one in particular down for you guys is because we never got any mythics, medallions, boss cars, or even the boom bow. We were still able to play a clean game and secure the dub. That way you guys can see there's plenty of other tools that we never even touched in this gameplay that can make this that much easier for you guys. But even if you just get the bare minimum loadout and play with a little bit of IQ, you can easily dominate this new car-centered meta. Hopefully this video helped you out. If you did enjoy, please don't forget to drop a like on the video, sub to the channel if you're new, and if you really want to help a fellow bro out, use code BIFLESS30 in the item shop. With all that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I love you so much. God bless, and I will catch you in the next one.